Welcome to the International Code Council Region 1 and Region 1 radio show. My name is Tim Spears. I'm the host of Region 1 Radio. Region 1 was established in 2014 and we're made up of 3 states, California, Hawaii, and Nevada. That also includes 32 ICC chapters. We are dedicated to excellence in education and engagement by bringing code professionals together. This podcast series was designed to highlight code professionals that make up our region and share their experiences. If you enjoy our show, please make sure to review and rate us on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to our YouTube channel. In this episode, I spoke with Ron Piester, Vice President of Membership and Strategic Engagement with the International Code Council. In this episode, we discussed how he stays informed on building safety issues, finds balance, the many member benefits ICC provides, ICC global initiatives, thoughts on those seeking a career in building safety, and several other topics. Links to the items we discussed can be found in our show notes. Good afternoon, Ron. How are you?
Doing well. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, I'm glad that we were able to connect. You're in Birmingham. I'm here in stormy northern or the Central Valley of California. So we're getting a little bit of rain today. So
good. That's always a good thing, I think, right?
Yeah, it is this time of year, especially because you never quite know. We're in the midst of fire season in a sense. There's still that hazard that still looms out there. So any additional vegetation that we get, kind of at this time of year, is always a good thing.
Okay.
But well, welcome. So can you share a bit about your background and how you got started in your career?
Sure. So I'm an architect by trade. I'm a registered architect in the state of New York, which is where I have spent most of my professional career. I was born and raised in New York, graduated from Syracuse University School of Architecture, and then lived in New York City for a number of years where I became registered, and then lived upstate in New York, close to where my family is from. I became an architect for a couple of reasons. My grandfather and great-grandfather were registered architects in New York, and my grandfather also had a family construction business. Okay. And as a kid, my dad was a partner in the business, and as well as my uncle. So, as a kid, I would sweep the job site, tar foundations, haul shingles up to the roof. You know, all the great jobs of construction. And without really telling me he wanted me to do it, my grandfather inspired me to become an architect. And so I went to school, became an architect, and then in New York City I worked for the Public Housing Authority in their design department, and that's where I got a taste of public service.
Okay.
So it's something that has stuck with me, and my career for the state of New York allowed me to combine my experience as an architect with the call for public service that seemed to be within me, working at the Department of State Division of Code Enforcement. And so I worked many years there as their director, and was instrumental with the state in adopting the international code. So
okay.
That's my state career. And then about 6 years ago, I had an opportunity to work for ICC. So since 2016, I've been working at the Birmingham office.
And your position with the Birmingham office in, working as part of ICC, I guess, what are some of those main functions?
So I'm just transitioning to a new position at the Code Council. My new title is Vice President of Membership and Strategic Engagement. I previously worked with our certification program as well in a couple of other departments, but this new title has me focusing on membership engagement and our membership department, and that many people know Carla Higgs, Vice President of Membership, who is actually transitioning to our training department,
Okay.
and she'll be running the chapter education program through the training department. So I'm essentially filling in the position that Carla previously had, and I know that those are not just big shoes; those are tremendously big shoes. Carla has such a depth of knowledge and a passion for our membership. So I've got a big challenge ahead of me, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've worked with Carla quite a bit. Here with Region 1, we updated our website within the last 6-8 months, and we worked a lot with Carla to be able to, take advantage of the benefit that ICC offers our chapter, our region, to be able to update our website. And it looks so much more professional. It's easier to update and be able to stay more connected with many of our different chapters and just the members of those chapters.
I'm really glad to hear that you're doing that, and I'll definitely take a look at your website. That was a project a few years ago that I had the opportunity to work with Carla and our executive staff on, and was able to get support to create that new chapter benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And relatively few chapters have taken advantage of that, but I know that those that have really find it to be a valuable benefit, and so I'm glad to hear that you're doing that, and maybe this will inspire some other chapters to consider the same thing.
I hope so, and as this conversation goes on, I'd like to key in on some of those member benefits. But before we dive too far deep into that section of the kind of the discussion, coming from New York and moving to Birmingham, now I've made maybe a little bit more of a similar transition, living in the Midwest and now on the West Coast. It definitely challenges our routines a bit, right? Things are a little different in different areas.
Yeah, that's an understatement for sure.
So what was some of the biggest adjustment moving from New York State to Birmingham, Alabama?
Well, the first thing I had to do, when I came here, I had to declare my allegiance to either Alabama Crimson Tide or the Auburn Tigers.
Yep.
And so I declared for Auburn.
Okay.
Technically, however, it's been a really rough road doing that, because I'm a Syracuse University alum, and so I've always rooted for the Orange.
Right.
And I actually have a Syracuse University license plate on the front of my emblem on the front of my car, and I know that when people see that in Birmingham, Alabama, they really scratch their heads. But that's my roots, and and I'm sticking with it. So.
Well, yeah, like you just said, declaring allegiance to a particular school, it's either War Eagle or Roll Tide, right?
That's correct. Yep. So I guess War Eagle.
I grew up outside of Omaha, and so Nebraska football was one of the larger. It was the program, and so growing up there, I still watch them. They've had better seasons than what they currently have, and so I hope they continue in the transition and continue to do a little bit better, but not nearly as good as Alabama in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they've been on a roll. So
yeah,
they're quite a team.
Yep,
quite a program. Yep.
So, what does your morning routine look like? I think, like all successful, I'm always interested to hear how successful people kind of move throughout their day, and I think a lot of times we set ourselves up for success in the morning, and so I'm just always curious to kind of hear what my guests' morning routines look like.
Oh. Interesting question. So it's been an interesting couple of years, starting out in the morning, and right now, the Code Council, we have transitioned back to, I guess, a hybrid work schedule. So I'm in the office today. Typically, I'm in the office 2 days a week, and then I'll work from home 3 days a week. So that's been part of the dynamic, but typically in the morning I'll always start with my cup of coffee, and then power up my computer and really just check in very generally with the people that I generally interact with, those that work within my department. See if there's anything urgent that needs to be addressed that might have come through the night before, or that I'm aware of that I need to address in the morning. So I like to start by addressing the urgent issues and try to get those out of the way and give those priority. And then it's really just a kind of a recheck on a running list of responsibilities, tasks, and obligations that I know that I have, whether it's working on a particular project or a report that I have to prepare, or just overseeing an initiative. I find myself involved in a lot of initiatives that cross multiple departments, and so that can be a little bit challenging, but it's also something that I find very rewarding. So checking in with the various people that are involved in a project and making sure things are running smoothly with that. So it's really just it's just taking an advanced look at the day ahead, trying to anticipate where I'm going to end up.
Right.
Never quite getting it right, but then diving in and getting started with the work at hand.
Yeah, and I can sympathize with that. Like you just said, you lay out your day, but by the end of the day, you look back at that to-do list and you did everything on, well, you didn't do anything on the to-do list. You did everything else, and then it just distracted you from what you needed to do. And I kind of face that a lot of different days.
One of the things that was interesting to me during the pandemic was, this migration to virtual meetings, and at one point I found myself being scheduled in meetings that went literally from the beginning to the end of the day, and I would get to the end of the day and think, I haven't gotten any work done today.
Yeah.
I've been in a series of meetings and all valuable discussions, but I didn't get any tangible work done today. And so that one of the things that I've tried to do is tried to balance that. Because obviously that interaction is important, but you need to have time that you can devote to get your actual work done.
Right.
So that's been an interesting dynamic to me.
So you speak about balance. So how do you balance your professional life and maybe your life outside of work?
So when I first came to the Code Council about 6.5 years ago, I jumped in with both feet head first and really enjoyed being part of the Code Council team internally, and so I spent lots of time working on Code Council business, and that often went later into the evening, involved lots of weekends, and it's something that I found, again, very rewarding, and I'm glad that I did it. But there was a point where I found myself understanding that I wasn't really doing a very good job at balancing sort of my life outside of the Code Council with my work at ICC, and so I've taken an approach to try to be more balanced about that. Understanding there are always going to be issues or projects or responsibilities that are going to take you into the evening or in through the weekend, especially as they relate to traveling to meetings and chapter events, etc. And that's something that I enjoy very much. But I try to achieve a balance that's reasonable. I work an 8-hour day, probably a little bit more than 8 hours, like most people do.
Yep.
But then I make sure that my evening is spent being able to focus on my family and the things that are important to me. So
yeah, and and a lot of different folks that I've talked to as part of this podcast series have discussed how it is difficult to find that balance, and especially as you move up into more leadership positions, it does become more and more of a challenge, and so they find ways to disconnect. And like for me, it's escaping to the mountains. But for another one, I talked to Mia Mervelli with the California Building Standards Commission. She says she enjoys to fly fish, and I thought, well, that was kind of an interesting, unique kind of way to disconnect, because it's hard to answer a cell phone with you got a fishing pole in your hand. So.
Oh boy, yeah, absolutely. So,
okay. Now, we talked a little bit about routine and how you structure your day, and you talk about tools for, continuing on those running responsibilities that you encounter. But what are some of those ways that you keep track of it? Like, what are some tools that you need to have at your disposal? For me, it's I use a lot of different note-taking apps and reminders and those types of things. But what are some of those, productivity tools that you use?
Well, one of the things I will have to admit, I'm a little bit of an old school guy, an old school person, and so I do take a lot of handwritten notes still. Our membership department is actually implementing a management app.
Okay.
That I'm going to start working with our team through, and so I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm trying to remember exactly which one it is. It's associated. It's connected to Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
And that's the environment that we utilize internally at the Code Council. So I'm going to be using that app with the management team. But I do like to take handwritten notes. I do a little bit of sketching as I go along, because as an architect, I still love to sketch.
Right.
And so it's funny. This is a little bit of a diversion, but one of the things that I enjoy is when we're doing something creative within the Code Council that I'm involved with. The architect in me tends to come out, and I'll offer to develop a rough sketch for a bulletin or some sort of a piece, and I've now gotten to the point where when I do that, some of my colleagues will go, "Oh boy, here we go, another sketch." But that's just part of me. So I do enjoy to do that.
Yeah, well, and sometimes sketching is important, right? I think a picture sometimes is worth 1,000 words, and so to be able to have a sketch of something that you can be able to utilize later is always, I consider it to be beneficial as well. So
yeah, it can really it can help you to illustrate a point very effectively.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that you're the head of membership engagement, and I think also the strategic engagement there with ICC. You're kind of making that transition into that role now. But what are some of the main roles of your particular unit, and how do they, maybe engage the membership with ICC?
Mm-hmm. The membership department is generally responsible for maintaining and delivering our benefits to our members, and we have a number of membership categories. So as I'm sure you are aware, we have our core members are our governmental members. Those are the governmental jurisdictions that adopt and enforce the international codes, or adopt and enforce codes in general. And then we have also individual members, mm-hmm. building safety professionals, and other members who are associated with the Code Council. So we're responsible for membership recruitment and retention, and we maintain the membership database that houses all of the information about our members, and then we administer the benefits to our members, and we have a wide range of benefits that members of the Code Council enjoy. And then as part of that package of benefits, we organize some of the Code Council's primary engagement activities for our members, and that includes our chapters. We have about 400 chapters now. I think we just may have reached 400, and which is a great milestone. And our chapters really, this may sound cliche, but our chapters truly are the lifeblood of the Code Council. That those are those organizations such as Region 1 and in our local and state chapters that that have the personal connection to our members at the local, state, and regional level. And so we administer the benefits for our chapter program. And then also the Code Council has a series of membership councils, and those councils are specific to disciplines within the industry. We have the Building Membership Council, we have the Fire Service Membership Council, our PMG Membership Council, and several others. And so within those disciplines, it creates a place for people who are passionate about a specific discipline in the industry to engage and to be part of our ongoing conversation within the Code Council.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about member benefits and the website being one of those maybe chapter region benefits. But, so can you maybe expand a little bit more on what that benefit is and how different chapters and maybe regions, because I know a lot of us regions have our own website, how they can take advantage of it, maybe some of the other kind of key benefits to being a member of ICC?
Sure. So our chapters, again, our 400 chapters have the ability to every year to submit their annual report to the Code Council. And the annual report process is really quite simple. It's all automated. It's all online, and it really asks a chapter to update the information about your officers. Any new developments that have happened within your chapters, if a chapter has changed its bylaws or its structure in any way, so that we have accurate information about how our chapters are operating. In return, our chapters receive a package of benefits that we feel provides good value to the chapters, so that you as chapters can thrive and succeed. And just a short summary of those benefits. By submitting the annual report, the chapter president or an officer of the chapter has the ability to either attend our annual conference with a complimentary registration, or to attend our Chapter Leadership Academy, which is another engagement event that we have specifically for our chapters. And the Chapter Leadership Academy is held typically in the spring or early summer of the year, and we've been moving the location around. Next year's Chapter Leadership Academy is going to be in Tampa, Florida, at the end of April, and it's a focused leadership training event that helps chapter officers to expand their knowledge, to expand their skills, and to expand their capacity for leadership, so that they can go back and serve more effectively as a chapter officer. So we feel that that's an important benefit for our chapters. Another very important benefit is our chapter education benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Each chapter that submits an annual report receives essentially the equivalent of a day of training sponsored by ICC for the benefit of the chapter. And so, of our 400 chapters who we have, again, well, worldwide, because we do have some international chapters now.
Mm-hmm.
We probably maybe a little bit less than half of our chapters take advantage of that, of those chapter benefits, and so we always encourage more chapters to engage with us through the annual report, and then to take advantage of the benefits that the chapters have the ability to deliver to your members.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned the day of training. So is that an on-site training or is that virtual training? I guess now in the era of this virtual remote work setting, is it a little bit more, a little easier to access now?
Yeah, well, the training benefit is something that has essentially it transitioned to virtual during the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic for obvious reasons. But I think we're finding that chapters are seeing some of the benefits of that of virtual education. We have in the training department have really expanded capacity to provide virtual training options, or a number of ways. So we understand that the face-to-face interaction that can happen at a training event,
Mm-hmm.
an on-site training event, can be very valuable,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's something that we understand and respect, but we're also encouraging chapters to take advantage of some of the virtual options that provide more flexibility to not only to the chapter but specifically to the members.
Right. Yeah. And so now let's say a chapter wanted to engage in, but they couldn't necessarily dedicate a full day. You know, for my section or my chapter, I'm part of the Northern California Fire Prevention Officers or the California Fire Prevention Officers chapter to ICC. And so we hold monthly meetings. And so to be able to maybe engage in that level of training, do you allow for maybe it to be broken up a bit, so that let's say you wanted to provide 2 hours of training, 3 hours of training, or 4 hours of training, or does it require like a full day of training?
So the chapter education benefit is organized around sort of a full day of training.
Okay.
However, we also understand that our chapters are not all the same.
Mm-hmm.
That our chapters look at some of these issues a little bit differently, and so if there's a chapter that has a concept or an idea that they'd like to discuss, we encourage them to contact our training department, and talk about that idea. So one of the things that we have learned to be, especially in post, as we've hopefully moved beyond the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
is to be flexible,
Mm-hmm.
and to continue to be responsive to the needs, and the challenges that our members and our chapters face.
Yeah, yeah, like you just said, being flexible nowadays. It's it's been a little bit more. You're almost required to be flexible nowadays. So.
You don't have a choice.
No.
But I personally, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think that's helped us all to sort of develop a broader capacity for engaging with each other.
Yes.
Because I think flexibility is so important.
Well, and I would say, yeah, I agree with you. And I think that the pandemic, although for all the bad things associated with the pandemic, it did allow us to, or did force us to be more adaptable, but also, too, it gave us more tools. It's like this platform today that you and I are having this conversation on. I don't think it existed prior to the pandemic. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But I will say that now there's a little bit more emphasis, or a little bit more they're highlighted more.
Yeah. So that to that point, the Code Council was really fortunate in that just prior to the pandemic, it was I guess it was about the end of 2019, we had just implemented Microsoft Teams, and so this new platform was coming in, and people were saying, "Do we really need this? What do we need this for?" And someone at the Code Council is really smart, because they figured out we needed this before the pandemic hit, and it really was a tremendous tool to our team internally, and I think really helped to keep things together for the Code Council as we faced all of those challenges that everyone else was facing. So those tools can be really important.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And like you just said, being very fortunate to start implementing that. And I'm sure that through the pandemic, people, quickly realized how important those tools were.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, you mentioned having global chapters, and that's actually one of the questions that I wanted to talk to you about, because I did talk to President Davis. She had mentioned some of the global initiatives that ICC is working through. Can you maybe highlight or expand a little bit more on the different global initiatives that the International Code Council is taking, and some of the partnerships that you're working on?
Yeah, so just again, very generally, I would encourage you. I don't know if you've talked with Judy Zakreski.
I have
Judy
not.
is she's our vice president for global services. Could be the subject of an entire Region 1 radio
episode
broadcast. Yeah. Judy's a tremendous person, a great resource to the Code Council, and has helped us to build a smart strategy for expanding the Code Council globally. Since Judy has been here, she's been here for several several years now, and so Judy and the leadership of the Code Council has taken an approach to do the research first, and to find smart ways to expand our offering of products and services in parts of the world where they're needed, and parts of the world where we feel our mission can benefit the people of that region. It's been, I know, a learning curve, and I again, I think Judy would be really excited to talk with you about some of the specific projects that we've been working on. But it's, I know one of the things we've learned so much about what's really happening in the rest of the world when it comes to regulating the built environment.
Yeah.
And so each country does it so differently.
Yeah.
It's like a completely different learning process for each country or each different region, and so that's taken a lot of energy, a lot of time, and a lot of effort to go through that learning process. But thanks to the good work that Judy has done, and she has worked with our Global Membership Council very closely, and they have helped to connect her with organizations outside of the United States that are instrumental in the regulatory processes for countries in different parts of the world, and so that has helped us to make those connections and to have real conversations about how the Code Council can help other countries to do what they're doing in the construction world better, and so it's led us to a couple of of really exciting milestones. One was opening an office in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, wow.
And so that's one of the things that's been really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to open. It may already be open, but we're about to open an office in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah. So that, and a lot of our connections started through our conformity assessment and our product evaluation groups.
Mm-hmm.
ICCES, IAS have historically worked with clients overseas that were looking to enter the U.S. market, and that's helped to build those relationships. So that's been one area where we've been working globally for a while now. But there are also other parts of the world where we're finding there can be value to what we're doing to help other parts of the world. The Caribbean is a great example where we've worked with a group in the Caribbean to create a regional energy code that utilizes the IECC. It's called the Cross-Q Regional Energy Code, and so it's it's about trying to find places where we can utilize our strengths to help other countries to do what they do better. And so again, I would encourage you to contact Judy, and I'll make sure to put you in touch with her and see if that might be something you'd be interested to learn more about.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's always fantastic and fascinating, right? To be able to hear how different parts of the country, or not necessarily the country, but the world, how they're working to solve a problem. As you mentioned, different different consultants, contractors looking to try to get into the U.S. market and being able to bridge that gap. That is one of those kind of fascinating things. What might be working elsewhere in the country or elsewhere in the world might be something that could benefit the United States and vice versa, right? We all have mutual goals. We're all looking to be able to improve fire and life safety or building safety. And how do we do that? And as we look at the ICC being international, that is one of those things. And I think you guys are doing a really good job helping bridge that gap and develop those global initiatives. I remember during the Pittsburgh conference, what was that? Not last conference, but the conference last year. Sam Palmer held it was more of a virtual roundtable discussion. We had some individuals from Saudi Arabia that were actually present for this discussion, and then he also had, like you mentioned, somebody from the Caribbean, and I believe there was one more gentleman that was outside the United States to be able to share their experiences as we were trying to bridge the gap between different jurisdictions and different, like you mentioned, the energy code. Being able to, living in the Caribbean, you're probably going to use a lot more energy to be able to cool your house than maybe you would be if you're living in Canada or some cooler parts of the world. So,
absolutely, yeah.
But so we talked a little bit about the global initiatives, but building cooperative relationships. But we also know that the code industry is always evolving. And so how do you stay, up to date and continuing to learn on those things that might impact you, and then also maybe forecast what might be coming to be able to be prepared to answer those challenges?
Okay. One of the ways that I try to keep on top of things is through my connection and association with other organizations in the industry. As an architect, I'm a member of the American Institute of Architects. I also interact as part of my responsibilities at the Code Council with the National Council of Architectural Registration Boards, NCARB. And those organizations, from an architectural perspective, look a little bit differently at the industry than we do, but I think that that's a way that helps me to have a broader understanding of our purpose and our role in the industry is by trying to understand those other organizations, how they look at the same issues that we do. And so I've found that the conversations that I have with people outside of ICC really help me to keep up on some of the issues that we're dealing with, or that we're involved with at the Code Council. So that's one way that I've done it. Another way is education. Just through my continuing education as an architect for maintaining my licensure, taking courses on tall wood buildings, that had the tall wood building conversations that happened through our code development cycles was fascinating, and it was really great to see this new building type coming into the industry, but also to really understand some of the safety concerns
Right.
related to tall wood, and just taking some of the courses that developed around the tall wood industry has helped me to gain a better understanding for that particular new construction type. So I think it's important to always be learning something, and whether that's going on a website and doing some research about something you're not entirely understanding in our
Right.
industry, or taking formal education. I think there's always ways to be learning on a constant basis.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I'm kind of in the middle part of my career, and I'm always continuing to search and expand. And actually, these conversations that I have with yourself and a number of other people, it's been great. It's actually been a huge education for me, because I didn't know some of these things existed. I've talked to a number of other folks that have maybe helped shine a light in certain areas, and maybe anywhere from leadership to community risk reduction to the building industry. And I'm glad that we're able to share these conversations, because I do think that not only is it an education for myself, but hopefully it is for others as well.
Sure. Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
So we talked a little bit about member benefits earlier, and we really focused on kind of the chapter membership benefits. But I always look now that we're a lot of times we're having a harder time being able to recruit new people into a building safety career. And so what if there was a new generation that might be exploring a building safety career in the future, what advice would you give someone, and how could you maybe, I don't want to sell it to them, because I have a 19-year-old son and he wants to do anything but what I recommend, right? So but for those that might be exploring a career in building safety, what kind of suggestions, how can maybe we start to recruit a younger generation into our field?
That's something we've been focusing on at the Code Council for the past several years, is trying to be part of the solution to this gap that continues to build as more and more of our seasoned professionals retire. So one of the things that I have learned is that not a lot of people understand what building safety really means. You and I understand. Our fairly tight-knit community understands. We understand the mission,
Right.
and we're passionate about that mission. But outside our sphere, when you talk about building safety, it really can be puzzling to people. And so I think that most important thing that we can do, and this is one of the things we've spent a lot of time trying to develop resources for, is to explain what building safety means, and how it connects to the industry, but also how it connects to the safety of communities and the lives of people.
Right.
How safe buildings are something that people take for granted, but someone who might be interested in building safety, maybe they don't understand just how important a job
Right.
being a building safety professional is. And so I think sort of cracking into that that excitement that we all share for building safety is something that we've tried to work on as an association, is trying to demystify our industry to people who might not quite understand what we do or why we do it. And so we've one of the things that the Code Council started on about 6 years ago, and this was when Cash Chevy was a president of the board, was an initiative referred to as Safety 2.0. And Safety 2.0 at the Code Council is a reference to a portfolio of programs and resources and services that are designed to inform young people or people not that are considering coming into the industry about what building safety means, and how people that are interested can become part of the building safety industry, and how building safety, from a very broad sense, benefits the communities and the people that we live and work with.
Yeah, and I talked to Maddie Domneski about Safety 2.0, and she shared a lot of those benefits that anywhere from the technical training piece and a couple other items that, for those individuals that might be seeking a career, or those individuals, maybe we can work in some of the trade schools or even high schools to at least get them initial certifications and be able to build from that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably one of the most important messages for young people is, when I was a kid, to be successful, you went to college, you got a 4-year degree, and you got out and you got yourself a job, and then you started on your way, and that was a very strong opinion back then. Sort of society pushed people to go that route. Today, I think we have a broader view of that there are many ways to engage in a successful career, and to be productive. And one of the ways, there are ways to have successful careers that don't involve college degrees, and that's where building safety can come in as an option. That a person doesn't have to get a 4-year degree to be a building official or a plan reviewer or an inspector, but can get a certification, and that credential can help that person to succeed and advance in their career, and have a long and successful career in building safety. And so I think it's important for young people to understand that there are lots of ways to be successful today.
Yeah.
And this is one of those ways.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that, like you just mentioned, it used to be 4-year college and then you got a job, and that was the only way you could be successful. But I think nowadays we're thinking more trade schools and, like you just mentioned, certifications to get that credential to be able to work in some of these fields. And we're in desperate need of the new and upcoming generation.
Yeah. A program that we're really proud of, that we've been working on, is encouraging people who are transitioning out of military service back to civilian life to consider careers in building safety. The skills that our military service people develop while they're in active duty are ideally suited for building safety as an inspector, as a regulator, and so that skill set really transitions well. And so we hope that we can continue to expand that program to help people coming out of active service to have options for successful careers in building safety.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Ron, we've been talking for almost an hour, so
Wow.
and I could probably continue this conversation, but and so hopefully people are still listening. But if anyone wants some more information in regards to the member benefits and the various things that we talked about, what resources or where can they find this information?
So that's something that we're really happy to talk about now because thanks to some really smart people within the Code Council, we've made some great advances with our website, and so www.iccsafe.org is our website. I'm sure you know it, and hopefully many of our members know it. But that's the place to start. And then we have a live chat through the website, and there's, depending upon what an individual wants, contact our customer service group, and they can direct a person to a particular area on our website or answer questions that you have. So either go to our website or give us a call, 888-422-7233, and we're always happy to help.
And speaking of that, I've called that number quite a few times to get some information, either on code books or some member benefit or a certification question that I've had, and people get back to you right away. I mean, it is one of those things that you don't have to call on a number of occasions to be able to get somebody. They will definitely get back to you.
We have a great customer service group, and they're dedicated, just like everyone at the Code Council, not only to our mission but to excellent customer service. So I'm glad to hear that's worked for you.
It has quite a few times. I almost sound like I'm high maintenance, but I would say over the course of my career, I've had to call a few times. So
we're always happy to help.
Well, Ron, before we bring this episode to a close, is there anything else that you would like to add?
On behalf of the Code Council, I want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in your Region 1 radio show. I think it's a great thing that you're doing, a great service to not only to Region 1 but to all of our members, and I want to encourage you to continue doing this, and we look forward to supporting what you're doing through this initiative and all of the other great work that Region 1 is doing. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk today, and I look forward to seeing your next radio show, whoever that might be.
Well, I definitely like to talk, and so I think that this gives me that ability or that outlet, right, to be able to talk and continue. I'm like I said, we're almost up against an hour, and I'm still having a hard time maybe bringing this to a close. So, but it is selfish on my part when I first started this, because I knew that there were so many people like yourself out there that had good information. But like myself, I don't necessarily be able to talk to like yourself or maybe other people from across the country. So this gives me that opportunity to ask those questions. And I may not ask all the questions that somebody else may ask, but I try to do a good job of highlighting those things that maybe, for myself and maybe others might have those similar questions. And I always mention, if anybody ever has any questions or has any suggestions for those to be able to bring on the show, I definitely look forward to that. And like you mentioned, talking to Judy, I'll definitely reach out to Judy, because I think the global initiatives part is definitely a fascinating thing that and undertaking that you guys are working on right now.
Really exciting stuff happening there. Yeah, you're right.
So All right, Ron. Well, I really do appreciate it. Like I mentioned earlier, if anybody knows of anybody else that wants to be maybe a guest or suggestions for a guest, please make sure to reach out to me through our ICC Region 1 website. Or I should probably mention too, make sure to rate us on iTunes and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Other than that, that's all I got. Thanks, Ron.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay. Bye.